In this section, we will get familiar with containers, their details and specifications, and we will learn about their different types together. In this part, we will focus more on the container itself and its components. Stay with me. In the very first part of this section, we want to take a closer look and thoroughly examine what exactly a container is, or as it is sometimes referred to, bargonge, or as it is more commonly called in English, container. We will explore what a container actually is and delve into how it came into existence and became such an essential part of modern transportation. After many years and decades of transporting goods in various ways, people eventually decided to use this secure, reliable, and standardized tool for moving their valuable cargo and merchandise across long distances. As you can see in this comprehensive definition, a container is a strong, durable, and secure compartment or enclosure constructed with a sturdy metal frame and built according to strict international standards and regulations. It is specifically designed and used for loading, storing, and transporting various types of goods and products. Whether the goods are solid, liquid, dangerous, normal, perishable, live animals, or even vehicles, containers can be used to safely and efficiently transport all kinds of different cargo and commodities. Containers themselves come in a wide variety of types and categories, both in terms of their physical size and their specific type or function, which we will get to know and understand better in this 11th section and also in Part B of our discussion. What are the advantages of transporting goods by container? Well, there are many advantages, and here we've listed a few of them as headlines for you. One of them is the secure delivery of goods, meaning your goods are transported completely safely in this compartment and can be shipped from one country to very distant countries. You may have often heard that a shipment was on the water for 50 days and traveled from one country to a very far away country without any damage or harm coming to the goods. The second item is minimizing the costs related to packaging, loading, and unloading goods. We know that, in fact, handling and loading goods in large volumes is a very costly task, and if it is done by human labor, it becomes even more expensive. In container yards, we see that this work is carried out by highly advanced machinery, such as cranes, gantries, and fully modern equipment, which significantly reduces the cost of loading and unloading. Also, with the standardization of products in containers, you can load a single type of goods in very high tonnage into one container. For example, you can load and ship up to 22 or 25 tons of a single product in one container, streamlining the order and delivery process to the customer without intermediaries, since in container shipping, human labor plays very little role, and the process is almost entirely mechanized and carried out by ship, means there are fewer middlemen involved. Increasing the speed of loading and unloading not only reduces costs but also boosts efficiency because advanced machinery is used. Goods are loaded into containers with forklifts, and the containers themselves are loaded onto ships in container yards using cranes and highly advanced equipment. Ultimately, the modernization of procedures and the replacement of traditional methods with new ones are among the advantages of shipping goods by container. These are some of the reasons why people have strongly turned to and become interested in this method. In this section, we want to get to know the container's identification document and become more familiar with the components that make up a container. Every container that is licensed to carry goods has an identification document, and this document always accompanies the cargo and the container and is handed over to whoever is in possession of the container. Inside this identification document, the physical specifications and the external condition of the container are recorded. It details whether the container has any rust, dents, bulges, or depressions, and whether it is in good condition or not. And if any of these issues exist, they are fully documented in the identification document. Therefore, we can say that the identification document that comes with the container reflects the container's condition. Also, each container is made up of different components. One is the container identification number, which is the same container number we all know, and the second is the classification society's mark, which I will explain to you in detail in the next section. The Container Safety Certificate, or CSC Plate, which you've probably heard of, the Customs Approval Plate, and the operational characteristics of the container. These will all be explained to you in detail in the following section. What is the Container Identification Number or container number? The Container Identification Number is like a national ID code for each person. It's a unique number that is never shared between two containers. In other words, it's impossible to find two containers with the same number. If such a thing happens, it definitely means that one of them is fraudulent. This makes moving containers easier. This number consists of 4 Latin letters, as you can see in the image, B, M, O, U, and 7 digits, 441.92.97. This number has 3 parts. One is the owner code, another is the serial number, and the last is the check digit, which will be explained in the next slide. Numbering containers in this way not only makes it easier to identify them, but also provides convenience for customs officials. The International ISO 6346 standard has adopted this method for marking and identifying containers so that they can be distinguished from one another and not be confused. I will give more details about the container number in the next slide so you can see that the check digit, which you see inside the square in the image, is a very important number. With it, we can make sure whether the container number is genuine or fake, and we can verify it. Let's now look at the components that make up the container identification number in this section. The BIC code is the same as the owner code. CSQ is assigned to the container owner by this office. In most cases, this code ends with the Latin letter U. That means if you look at most containers, you'll see that the first 4 letters, which are Latin letters, end with a U. This is usually used for C containers. The serial number is a 6-digit number. As you can see, it's shown here in green in the figure, and finally there's an orange number labeled as the check digit, which is the matching number. As you can see, it's mentioned here as well. This number has a mathematical relationship with the serial number and the owner code, and it can't be chosen arbitrarily. If you have doubts about this identification code, you can calculate the mathematical relationship between the numbers and verify its accuracy. The Container Classification Organization is actually an organization made up of non-governmental institutions. They conduct a series of very specific and detailed tests in order to standardize containers according to international regulations and industry standards. And once a container successfully passes all of these rigorous tests and fully meets the necessary and required criteria for being officially standardized, this organization then issues a distinctive logo along with the official CSC plate symbol, which is affixed to the containers. This indicates and serves as proof that the container is indeed a standardized one and has been thoroughly inspected and approved by the recognized Container Classification Organization. Most of the companies that own or are the registered owners of containers generally prefer and choose to have their containers standardized by these reputable institutions and to have both the CSC plate and the official logo displayed on their containers, as this demonstrates compliance with international standards and ensures the containers are accepted for use in global trade and transportation. Now, what exactly is this Container Safety Certificate or CSC plate? This plate indicates that the container's number has been approved by the BIC office officials. In other words, the number has been checked and it's not a fake number, it's correct. It is issued to the owners when they have also passed the convention tests and the container has been certified as standardized. On this metal plate, you'll find the container identification number, the maximum gross weight of the container, the number and country of the certifying authority, the name of the manufacturer, the year of manufacture, and the date of the container's next inspection. I think these are all pretty clear. The identification number is the same as the container number. The maximum gross weight is the maximum weight the container is allowed to carry. You've probably often heard that when you want to load cargo, you shouldn't exceed the CSC plate limit of the container. What does that mean? It means that the number stamped on the CSC plate must never, under any circumstances, be exceeded when loading cargo. That number is the permitted limit. It shows you and the certifying country, which actually indicates the manufacturer's name and the year of manufacture, as well as the date for the container's reinspection. It states that the standards and tests performed are valid until this date, and after that you need to repeat these tests again to show that the container still meets the standards. The maximum pressure and weight tolerance for other containers when one container is stacked on top of another is also indicated on this plate, because each container can only withstand a certain amount of pressure from other containers stacked on it. When they're loaded onto a ship, the weight and pressure tolerance is also marked on the CSC plate. What is the container's customs approval plate? The customs approval plate means that the interior space of the container is designed in such a way that it allows inspection by customs officials, appraisers, and relevant personnel. This plate is made of stainless steel and should be affixed to the rear part of the container. If the container does not have this plate, it cannot be transited, and if customs officers notice such a thing, they will immediately seize the container. So it is generally better for shipping companies that own containers to definitely undergo the required standard tests in order to obtain this important plate, and have it displayed on their containers so they can transit their containers to various different parts of the world without facing seizure or objections from customs officers. What are the operational characteristics of a container? Sometimes next to the container number, there are certain markings that indicate the hidden and operational features of the containers. Like what? Like the empty or full weight, the maximum gross weight, the net weight, the internal volume of the container, and similar factors. The empty weight of the container is, of course, clearly calculated and refers to the actual weight of the container, along with its accessories, without considering the cargo. And this is often called the tare weight, meaning the weight of the container itself without any load. The maximum gross weight, which I explained to you earlier, is the maximum allowable weight for loading inside the container. The maximum net weight, as stated in the container's documentation, is also very important and indicates the cargo and the accessories used for transporting the cargo. And the volume of the container, which is actually what we refer to as CBM, is something we often hear about when people say the volume of a 20-foot container is this much, or the volume of a 40-foot container is that much. This refers to the net usable volume that each container can have for loading, and it is calculated in cubic meters.